Welcome everyone to today's episode of Flat Tire Dan. As always, I want to thank everybody who's been viewing our episodes and that has subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you have been viewing and you're enjoying what we're putting out, but you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please do so. Like I mentioned before, it helps us reach more viewers. So today's episode kind of came as a result of, or maybe motivated by, our trip to Rock Run, which is the last 3 episodes on the channel. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's pretty cool. But anyway, me and my buddy Javier went on like a weekend long riding camping trip out the Rock Run recreation area out towards State College, Pennsylvania. And while we were there, we rented a cabin from them, one of 2 small cabins they have there, to stay in for the weekend. And by cabin, I mean 4 walls and a couple of beds. That was it. But they were nice, and they were exactly what they told us they would be. But we were camping, like we were in the campground area, and we had our stuff set up, and we were camping. I guess I'll start a little earlier than that. So when I was young, like grade school young, like 100 years ago young, my parents had a little pop-up camper, right? They would tow behind my dad's truck, and we would go campground to campground in the summertime. I remember my dad had a friend at work, fabricate this bracket for the rear bumper of the tow behind the pop-up, that would hold my Kawasaki KV75 mini bike, my introduction to off-roading. And I remember ripping around the campgrounds and hanging out with my sister at the arcades, and it was fun. I have fond memories of that. But then, teenage years and my entire adult life, I never really camped again. And then 4 years ago or so, we're still riding 4-wheelers. We bought our first jet ski, and we decided that we wanted to travel with that stuff and check out new places and go ride in different places. And at the time, I had a F350 diesel dually pickup through the job I had at the time, and it had like more cargo and towing capacity than I could ever use. And so we decided we were going to buy a toy hauler, which is basically a camper with cargo area to put your stuff in. And like the one we bought was pretty big. Like it wasn't a 5th wheel, but it was a pull behind, but it was pretty big. I mean, it was 36 feet, tongue to bumper, and you could fit at least 2 4-wheelers in it, and we could put the jet ski on its trailer in the cargo area, and it was great. I mean, it was a perfect setup. We got a great deal on it, bought it brand new. It was really nice. But like while we were shopping for the thing and kind of planning our first trips, I never anticipated how much I would enjoy the camping part, right? Like I was excited about the riding part, but I never really anticipated how much I would enjoy the camping part. And I did. Like, cooking outdoors and being out in the woods, and going on hikes with Triton, and like those of you who camp know, like, campers and the campground vibe, like everybody's super cool and super friendly and having a great time, and I just like, it changed my life. And so like, as we made plans for more and more trips, I was equally excited to go camping as I was to go riding, right? And like I mentioned on the channel before, like life plans change, it just happens. And so about 1.5 years ago, we sold the toy hauler, and I knew I'd look back on it fondly, and, I'd find different stuff to do, obviously, right? But I didn't really see, camping again in my future. And then you fast forward to Rock Run, and I can remember, like, the moment. Like, we'd been out riding all day Saturday, and we got back to camp and, got dry clothes and cooked up some dinner and started a fire, and we were kind of sitting around the fire. I was like editing video or something, and like it finally stopped raining, and so like the stars were out, and I remember just all of a sudden having this realization of how much I missed camping and how much I wanted it back in my life. But everything's changed since then, right? Like I no longer have that big giant truck. I have no budget to buy a toy hauler, even if I did have that big giant truck. And I can't really buy like a smaller camper because I want to be able to take my stuff. And like not all the time. I mean, sometimes it'll just be Triton and I, and we'll just go camping for the weekend. But for the most part, I'm going to be trying to take one of these 2 things somewhere. And so what do I do? Like, what are my options? So I figured, once I got home and kind of got settled back in, that I would start looking around to see what's up. Now, and the first, logical answer is, well, buy a tent, right? And I don't have an issue with tent camping. Like, through my years recently at campgrounds and stuff, I've seen a lot of nice tent setups. My issue is sleeping on the ground. Like, I have huge issue with sleeping on the ground. Like, I have a, unrealistic or maybe realistic fear of setting up my tent in the wrong spot and waking up in 6 inches of muddy water, or snakes, spiders, whatever, And so I pretty much initially ruled out tent as a no. I looked at those campers that fit in the bed of your truck. What I didn't realize is they're pretty much as expensive as any type of toy hauler I would buy, which I have no budget for. And they're really heavy, And so now I'm driving an F-150 and it's a very capable truck, but you put that in the bed, you put this thing on its trailer, and you start pushing things to their limits, which I'm never a fan of. And so what do? I don't know what to do. And so what I usually end up doing is go to YouTube University, right? See what's out there, see what other people are doing. And that's exactly what I did. And I poked around a little bit, and I think I found a pretty cool solution to my problem, and maybe yours, if it's something that relates to you. But I think I found a pretty cool solution. So why don't I just give you a quick glimpse of it and then kind of come back and tell you how I, narrowed down to what I ended up getting. Okay, so there you go. Pretty cool, right? That is referred to as a truck bed tent. So it's a tent, but you're not sleeping on the ground. Now, it wasn't that easy. Once I realized that was an option for me, I still had some hurdles. I still had some stuff that I wanted to kind of look into to see if it would work for me and work with my truck. My truck is my only vehicle, and it's my work truck. And as you probably have surmised, I'm a contractor. So it wasn't as easy as just being well, that's a good idea, let's get one. First was the tent itself. I've watched people tent, like I mentioned, and I've seen them when they were thinking it might rain, they get out this aftermarket kind of tarp thing and to put on top of the tent to protect it from the rain, which I was always why don't they just make the tent out of that same material so you don't have to do that, right? And so I was worried, I wanted something entirely weatherproof, right? And once you set it up, you're out of the rain or whatever. And I found a guy on YouTube that was doing a review of this tent, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but this one's entirely weatherproof. The second thing that I was worried about with the tent was other weather, thunderstorms, wind, just a windy day, how sturdy are they? I don't want the thing collapsing or blowing away, especially with me in it. And so how, sturdy are these things? So I said, I found a guy on YouTube that was doing a review of this tent, and first thing he did is he spent 5 minutes spraying it with a garden hose. The windows, everything. And then took you inside and showed that it was, dry as could be inside. So nice, weatherproof. And then he lived across the street from this desert area, I guess. And so he left it on his truck and he drove out into the desert at 40 miles an hour and the thing didn't budge. And so it seems like it'll stand up to thunderstorms or whatever if it'll do that. So, okay, I find the tent I want. But now, like I said, I got a work truck, and it's got, a toolbox and a bed cover, and it's got a ladder rack, and I'll post a picture of the truck here at the end of the episode of what I was starting with, what my truck looks like Monday through Friday. So the toolbox, no brainer, that have to come out. I need the bed space, right? Because my toolbox actually sits in the bed of my truck underneath the bed cover. But not a big deal. Just bolted down in 2 spots. I'm not worried about it blowing out. I'm just worried about it sliding around. So not a big deal, and to be honest with you, everything in it is work tools. This thing has its own toolbox, as you can see, and this thing actually has a tool roll in it. So if I'm taking one of these things, I've got enough tools to deal with them. And then if I'm not taking either, I don't need my work tools when I'm camping. So toolbox, kind of a no-brainer, easy, take it out of the truck. Now what I did was I bought these clevis pins. So when I put it back in the truck, I don't have to bolt it down again. I'm going to slide these pins through and put a cotter pin through them and be done. So easy in, easy out. Ladder rack. Now my ladder rack is a Thule ladder rack. It's 2 pieces. It slides forward and back. The back half, super mobile, super easy to move around, super easy to take off the truck, light. So not a big deal. But the front half, the part that kind of cantilevers over the roof of the truck, that's pretty heavy and bulky. Doesn't slide real easy and pretty hard for me to pick up and kind of maneuver myself. So I was hoping that this tent would work by leaving that front half on. And as you saw in the picture, it did. Bed cover, right? Removable, not real easy, but I kind of need it. Like if I'm traveling to and from camping, I'm going to want to put my camping stuff, my riding stuff, whatever, in the bed of my truck and keep it out of the weather and keep people from stealing it. And so I kind of need my bed cover to get to and from. And I don't want to get into like taking the bed cover off at the campground and then, you know, putting it back on, you know, before we leave. And fortunately I was able to make it work with just the bed cover rolled up out of the way. And so the tent worked. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you around kind of how I was able to fasten it down. And like, I'm not going to show you how to set it up. Like there's a bunch of YouTube videos on how to set these tents up. Basically you set it up like any other tent on the ground. You lift it up and you set it in the bed of the truck. But I am going to show you like how I fastened it down, my concerns about fastening it down. And now I kind of accessorize the inside, so that it would kind of work, you know. Now it's just for me, and Triton. But there's options if there's two of you, you know, they make mattresses for two people that actually fit in the bed of the truck around the wheel wells and stuff. But this is just for me and Triton to go camping. But I kind of want to show you, and remember, like some of this stuff I had already, but most of it is all new, all from Amazon, to get me camping again. So let's take a look. Okay, so here it is on my truck. I didn't try and pronounce the name for you earlier. Joy Tutus, I guess it would be called. But I found it on Amazon and it came highly rated, a lot of reviews, mostly 5-star stuff, especially about it being like weather resistant and sturdy and everything. So that's kind of what I was looking for. But some other challenges that I was concerned about, as far as, first of all, I wanted to make sure it would fit with that front ladder rack cantilever thing on, and as you can see, it can. It might even fit with that other piece on. I don't think so, but and then as far as the bed cover is concerned, you see I got it rolled up here, and this little rain flap kind of fits over it, so it does fit. Now, another big concern of mine, and those of you who know me know I'm a little OCD with this stuff, is how these things fasten down to your truck. You know, there's lots of clips and brackets and stuff that interact with painted surfaces, which I have a big problem with. So I took a little while to kind of sort all that stuff out. It straps down here in the front, these straps here. And what I did is I ran them between the bed and the cab, so no painted surfaces, and then fastened them underneath to my steps here. This side one, there wasn't much getting around it. You know, you have that clip, and then you have that big hook that connects to my wheel well. So, you know, the clip I just have protected with like a, you know, a cloth that I use in the garage. But the bottom, if you can see this, what I had laying around is, you know, I don't know, 3 or 4 cars ago, we had these pads that you would put on the seatbelt to kind of, you know, comfort or protect your shoulder. It's like, I don't know, fake sheepskin or whatever. And what I did was I cut it in half, and I wrapped it around this part here before I clipped it to the wheel well. So there's no type of metal or anything interacting with painted surfaces. And then on the back, I did just kind of something similar. I mean, the clip really doesn't get close to the paint because of the tail light, and this strap on the bottom probably wouldn't do any, you know, damage, but I just slide a little cloth in there just to, you know, kind of give myself peace of mind against, you know, damage to any of my painted surfaces. Now, it also fastens down over the tailgate back to the bumper or the hitch, you know, no problems there with painted surfaces. And then, you know, the same setup on the other side. You know, basically what you do is you set the tent up itself on the ground, and you just lift it into the bed of the truck, get it situated where you want it, and fasten it down. So let me show you how I accessorize the inside that I think is kind of efficient. So I chose not to get like an air mattress that just sits right on the ground, because I wanted a place where I could sit down as well as lay down, and I also wanted to maximize the amount of storage I had, as far as you know, putting things under the cot. You know, I mean, right now I just have the bags for, like, the tent and the sleeping bag and everything, but you know, you can put your suitcase under there or your shoes or whatever, so you still have space to store stuff. So I bought a cot, and I bought a little like memory foam mattress, and then this sleeping bag. And the cot and the sleeping bag came as a kit from Coleman, which is a, you know, great camping company types. You know, they sell all types of camping stuff, and all their stuff's highly rated. So I bought that. That red cooler up there is a cooler I had already, and I use that cooler when I go camping and stuff for like my food. You like hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff, and then I keep all my beverages in a separate cooler, which can stay outside. But my food and everything, I kind of want it out of the sun, and so it works as a perfect little end table. And then I've got a little fan set up there. Now, I don't know if I'm going to use that one. That's just one I just had in the garage. I do have a bigger, like, DeWalt 20-volt fan that just happens to be at work right now. I'll probably use that. It's just a little more powerful, and it does get hot in the summer, and put a bottle of water there or whatever, but it works as a little nightstand. I threw my helmet in here just so you could kind of get an idea. Like, you can still put stuff in here and have room to move around, you can sit down in the middle of the day if you want to get out of the sun or the rain or whatever and read a book or watch a video or whatever. Flat tire Dan if you want. And you still have some room to move around. So like the cot doesn't take up all the space. It does give you the ability to kind of sit down and store stuff underneath it. And then with my truck, like with most trucks, it comes with a 110 outlet in the bed. So it's on this side. I didn't want to cut a hole in the tent, so I plugged in an extension cord. I ran it across the ground and then back into the tent here. And I plugged in the surge protector. Now the truck needs to be running really to charge stuff, but whatever, I mean, if I'm hanging around and having lunch or sitting around the fire at night, I got no problem that my truck run for an hour or two. I charge up, the GoPro or my phone or whatever it is I need to charge up. But I do have electric available to me. And then if I am at a campsite that they do provide electricity, then bonus, I just run a cord in, set up my surge protector, and I'm good to go with all my stuff. Some other neat stuff, it's got these little like cargo pack pockets, so I've got like a little light set up in there that I can get up in the middle of the night. That little fan has a light on it too, but like I said, I'm probably not going to use that fan, but I got a little light set up, so I'll turn it on. It points at the ceiling in case I want to move around at night or whatever. And it's got windows that zip down, and up, obviously, and so you get plenty of airflow through this thing. The door, and I'll show you a picture of it, all closed up. The door's got a window in it, and so unless it's 100 degrees out, you probably get some airflow. It won't be too uncomfortable. And to be honest with you, I'm probably not going to go camping if it's 100 degrees out or 20 degrees out. You know what I'm saying? So I think it'll work. I think it's a nice little setup. I got it on a pretty serious budget, and I'm pretty excited to get out. I had mentioned Mudfest in my last episode, and I think that's going to be the trial run for this baby. Going to take it up there, going to set it up, going to do a little camping, and stay for one night and see how I like it. But I'm super excited. I miss camping, and I think this is about the only way I have the opportunity to do it anymore.
So there you have it, right? I mean, okay, I always like showing you guys what I have going on in my own life, but maybe somebody else out there that's watching this is in a similar situation, where they want to get camping, they want to spend more time outdoors, or take their stuff someplace and they don't know, because most of these places, at least you go riding with this thing, they have campgrounds on site, but they're rural and they're crude at best. They're just campsites. Sometimes they have electricity, but that's about it. And so your only option really is a tent or a toy hauler, and they're dramatically different, cost-wise. So maybe there's somebody else out there who just wants to get into camping again and has a pickup truck and doesn't want to spend a bunch of money, but wants to start spending more time outdoors and kind of getting into that whole camping life, which is awesome. Like, if you haven't done it, campgrounds and campground people are great. And I'm super excited to be able to get back into it. Really excited to get back into it. So as always, thanks for tuning in and watching our episodes. We really do appreciate it. We're having a great time doing this stuff. I was sharing with a buddy yesterday how much I love my YouTube channel. So thanks everybody for watching. And remember, stay tuned for more content from Flat Tire Dan. I'll see you.